Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to continue on with my makeup collection videos. It's been a little while now. So today I'm going to be doing setting powders, powders in general. So anyways, let's get right into it. So the first thing I'll start with is kind of my under eye setting powders. So I have this from Wet n Wild. This is the Megaglo contouring palette. This is in Caramel Toffee. And it's just a yellow tone powder, and then it has a brown tone powder on the other side that is decent for bronzing. It's not my favorite for bronzing, but it is there. But I do really enjoy this yellow side. I'm definitely really back into using like these yellow tone powders to set my under eye concealer. I was doing that for a while, I got out of it, and now I'm back into it, and I love it because I feel like it does so much better of a job at brightening than a general like translucent powder or something like that. So this is $5.99 or something from Walmart. It's really cheap, really affordable. If you are looking to get decent powders on a budget, check out these Wet n Wild ones. A few videos back, I did a dupes video, and it was between that Wet n Wild one and the Marc Jacobs Light Filtering Contour Powder. I have this in Mirage. And it looks very similar to the Wet n Wild one. It's got the yellow tone powder, but the brown tone powder is definitely more of a contour powder, whereas the other one was a bronzer powder. So day to day, this is what I've been using like the last couple weeks, and in the last week this is what I've been using every single day. You get so much product in here. You get this huge mirror. The compact is really sharp and beautiful looking. And these powders are just incredible. Like, they feel so good. This is what I'm wearing today is to set my concealer, and this is what I'm wearing today to contour with. So in terms of other products that I have for setting my under eye concealer and contouring, I guess, I do have the Anastasia contour kit. This is the original one. This was back when they only had the one palette. I know they have like I think they might have 2 or 3 now. Can't remember, but this was the kind of like where contouring and all that stuff began. I was really into using this banana shade to set my under eyes. Obviously I've long run out of it, and then I was really using these 3 bottom shades to contour with a lot, and while it was good at the time because there really wasn't a lot of options that you could find, I've kind of grown away from this. The powders are a little bit dry, they're a little bit less pigmented than some of my other palettes, and they're not bad, but they're just not my favorite shades to wear. And then obviously these 2 here, I really never touch them. I mean, this is like a creamy white. Like, for me it's just too light to use to set my under eye concealer, and this one has like shimmer in it, so it's just not something I would use. I really just don't even know what I would use it for. It's too light to be all over the face, it's too shimmery to put underneath my eye, and it's too light. So while this palette is okay, I would suggest probably just buying the individual inserts and putting them in a Z palette, so that you're really just paying for the product that you're going to use rather than having a couple that you'll really never use in here, at least in my case. Next I have my Kat Von D Shade Light Contour Palette. I really love this. I haven't been using it for the last couple months, I would say, as much, because I've been using like the Marc Jacobs one and my Wet n Wild one, but this was the best contour palette in my opinion when this came out. I still think it probably is palette wise because it just has such a great shade range. It had one of those yellow powders in the center that I just totally used up, and I started actually using this like peachy shade too, and then I hit pan on that. I was kind of mixing in between them when I started running out of the yellow shade. Really great powder for setting your under eyes. And then these 3 contour powders are really nice. I think they do a really good job at having the perfect amount of brown and gray kind of pigment to them. They're super, super pigmented, I would say, which is a good thing on one side because you don't have to keep digging and digging and digging to get the pigment that you want, but at the other, like on the flip side, you have to be careful because if you go in too heavy with your brush with these, you can end up with a stripe, and then you have to kind of blend it out and play with it. But very quickly you kind of gauge how much you should be picking up each time. So to me, I like that they're pigmented. I've hit major pan obviously on these two here, but overall really nice palette. I'm so glad she has put out the version now where you can put the refillable packs in it, so that you don't have to repurchase the palette each time you run out of a shade that you want. So next I have one of the NARS duos. So this is in Paloma, and this is one of their kind of bronzing and highlighting palettes. So this shade over here is absolutely beautiful to set your under eyes with. It really brightens, it goes on really beautifully. I've hit pan on it obviously. I do really like it. I wish that you got more of this smaller product, or that they were at least equal, because I really love this product and I don't want it to run out. And I do use this shade over here. It says I use this more as a bronzer because it's more brown than gray really, but it's not like my go-to, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll start using it more, but it's just not something that like really calls to me, but I do really love this shade over here. Another product I was really into setting my under eyes with for a long time was the Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. This took me forever to purchase, even though I'd heard like great things about it. Every time I went in store and swatched it, I was like, oh my god, it's like a white powder with shimmer in it. Like it's super, super white and shimmery, and I was like, I just can't see that looking good underneath the eyes. But I finally just purchased it to try it out, and I really, really love it. For some reason, I don't know what happens, you don't see any glitter underneath your eyes. And it really does a nice job at brightening underneath. It sits really well, minimal creasing. The only problem with this is that I will catch myself getting flashback in photography if I'm wearing this under my eyes. So I always try to keep that in mind, not to wear this on nights where I'm going to be taking flash photography and stuff like that. Otherwise I look awful. But this is a really nice powder. It's super, super surprising. I can't believe how much I love this, considering when you just look at it from the pan, to me it just like seems crazy. This next product was something that was trendy for a little while. This is from Besame. This is one of the brightening violet powders in translucent. They have 3 or 4 of these powders in different shades, and each shade is supposed to kind of do a different thing. So the violet is supposed to help counteract like the dark circles in your eyes and kind of help brighten a little bit more than like a typical white shade or translucent powder. It definitely is violet. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you should be able to see there. It definitely is violet. It doesn't show violet on the skin or anything like that, so you don't really have to worry about that. It's just not my favorite thing to set my under eyes with. I feel like it doesn't give me the brightening that I want. I do get worried about putting too much of this on and like having like a weird like violet shift under my eyes. I don't know, I'm not super into it. It's not something I will repurchase. I will use it up eventually, but for now, I wish I kind of passed on this product. So I'll also include this one in here, even though it's kind of has some highlighters in it. So this is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palette. And the reason I'm going to mention this is because one of these powders you definitely can use for setting your under eye or your whole face. So those are kind of the shades there. 2 of them have shimmer in them, and then one of them is pretty matte. This one I will use to set my under eyes with sometime. It's not my favorite. I prefer to use the Hourglass powders kind of like as an all over final kind of setting powder, because they do give a really pretty glow to the skin. Even though they are shimmery, I don't think it's too much on the skin. But they are pretty powders. I have another one too that is full size. This is the Luminous Light shade, and this is really pretty. I wear this a lot when I'm filming to kind of give my skin a little bit more glow so I don't look dull or anything like that. And I don't know, this has lasted me a long time. I barely kind of flattened the top of it, and these are really pricey powders, but they are really pretty on the skin. There's not a lot of kind of glowy setting powders that give off the glow in a way that isn't glittery on the skin, and Hourglass does it really beautifully. So another kind of glowy face powder that I have is from Bobbi Brown. So this is the Nude Finish Illuminating Powder. This is in the shade Nude. There's 3 or 4 of these, and it basically just comes in this like brick here. And some of the colors are matte, and then some of them have shimmer in them, so when you swirl your brush around and apply it, you get this nice kind of glowy finish to the skin. This again is something that I wouldn't set my initial foundation with, but I would go kind of lightly over top of the other powder that I've applied, and it does give a really pretty look. Not my favorite one. I do prefer the Hourglass powders for that kind of purpose, but it is okay. And I think the last kind of illuminating powders that I have are the Cover FX ones. So these are the illuminating setting powders. I have it in light and I have it in medium. So if I take the top off here so you can see, oh, it's getting everywhere. It's really, really light, the light one. Oh, there's powder falling everywhere. It's almost white. It does give a pretty glow to the skin. You have to be very careful with these because these are a little bit more illuminating than the others that I've talked about. So you want to be careful so you don't look too crazy glittery. And then this is medium. So medium is quite dark. It's strange. There's only 3 shades. Or you know what? I think there's only 2 shades in this one. There's light and medium. And the light I find is too light, and the medium I find, even on me, is too dark. So I can't imagine how many other people would be able to really find what they need in this line. A lot of times what I'll do is like pour these into each other and mix them, and that way I can get a decent shade. But I really wish they expanded the shade line in these, because it's crazy to just have light and medium, and neither one of them are very good shades for anybody, but they are really glowy. Sometimes I'll wear this one as a body shimmer and it's pretty looking, but I really wish they would fix the shade range on these. So another powder that I do use as like a body shimmer powder is the Laura Mercier Mineral Illuminating Powder in Candlelight. So I haven't closed the container like I'm supposed to, so I have kind of a bunch of product building up there, but you can see it's like a pretty kind of brown, really shimmery powder. It looks really beautiful on the body. This would probably be too dark for more fair skin tones, but works well for me. It's really shimmery, really beautiful. I like the finish, and I think this will last me quite a long time because there's so much product in it. And then staying on the same kind of Laura Mercier brand, I do obviously have the Laura Mercier Loose Setting Powder in Translucent. This is like a staple that everybody should have in their collection, and it's this kind of whitish, yellowish, translucent powder that just has so many good uses. I use this to set my under eye concealer sometimes. You can use this as an all-over face setting powder. You can use this, works really well to bake your under eyes and anywhere that you're, you know, highlighting with concealer. And then sometimes if I'm doing an eye look where I know I'm going to get a lot of fallout, I'll just kind of pile this underneath my eyes, and then at the end of the look just brush it away, and it really helps so that you don't get any of like the eyeshadow kind of streaking or anything like that. So this is a really great powder, very finely milled, definitely translucent. I don't find that it gives me white cast or anything like that in photography, and you get such a decent amount in here. You get 29 grams. It lasts me quite a long time. This is only the second one I think I've ever bought, and I've been using this for a couple of years or so. I have a couple of the Bare Minerals matte SPF 15 foundations. I definitely don't just use these as powder foundations. I'm just not a powder foundation kind of girl. I feel like they look really dry on the face. It doesn't give me the coverage that I want, but I really love these for setting my foundation. I'm wearing these today because I've been finding that my skin is a little bit more oily than it used to be, although now I'm starting to feel like that's starting to go away again, but I can't tell if it's because I've been using matte setting powders or not. But this is my kind of like holy grail matte setting powder. This was one of the first powders that I ever bought to start setting my foundation with, and I just think it does such a great job at doing it. It looks so nice on the skin. It's never cakey, never heavy like feeling, lasts well all day. The powder is really nice, and because it is supposed to be like a powder foundation, you do get a little bit of extra coverage when you set your makeup with these. So I really love these. I have 2 shades. I have medium beige, which is what I am right now, and medium tan, which is a little bit too dark for me now. I was using this when I first came back from Cuba, but really I think when I bought this one, I thought it was the shade I usually had usually have, but it's a shade darker. So I do get some use out of this one, but only when I'm kind of really dark. And then another kind of matte setting powder that I have is the Cover FX matte setting powder, which I have in medium. I hauled this probably a month or two ago, and I've been really, really loving this one too. I've been kind of going between this one and the Bare Minerals ones. I think they're very similar, and they both do a really good job at keeping your face really matte while still making your makeup look really good at the same time. So because I enjoy the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation so much, they put out like a Luminous Silk compact, so the powder version. I have this in the shade 6.5, and I really wanted to try this out because I stopped using the Luminous Silk for a little while in winter because it's more of a summer shade for me, and now I just wore it the last few days. I forgot how much I love that foundation, just like how beautiful it makes your skin look. I'm right back into it. This one, that one, and like my Dior one that I recently purchased are just so good. Anyways, you get one of those little sponges. I don't use those a ton. I usually just use this with a brush. And then this is the actual powder that you get here. Really, really light and velvety feeling. Almost feels a little bit creamy, but it's obviously still a powder. You do get some nice extra coverage when you use this. It's a really good powder. Am I sure that it's worth, because it's a pricey powder, am I sure that it's worth that? I'm not totally sure, but I do enjoy it now that I have it. So I have a couple MAC setting powders too. I recently finished 2 others in the last few months, but I have another one of the Mineralized Skin Finish. This is in dark golden, so this is one of the darker shades that I have. This one was something that I brought to Cuba and was setting my foundation or BB cream or whatever I was wearing with. Really nice powder. I always enjoy these. You get a little bit of extra coverage with them, not too much, but they just finish off the skin really beautiful, just like their name says. And then I have another Studio Fix powder. This one is in, and oh, lost my sponge. This one is in NC45, so it's basically a shade darker than I usually am. There was like at one point, it must have been a couple summers ago or something, or maybe it was last summer, I can't remember, where I was really dark and none of my powders were dark enough for me. So I think that was when I purchased both of these. So this one right now is a little bit too dark for me. This is another one that I was using once I got back from Cuba when I had quite a tan going. And again, really beautiful powder. This one you definitely will get more added coverage with when you finish your foundation, because this again is supposed to be kind of like a powder foundation, but I really like using this one too. You do have to be a little bit careful with this when you apply it, that you don't go too heavy, because it can look a little bit heavy and cakey if you do too much. That's why I never really use the sponges with these, because it will apply a heavy amount. I tend to like using a brush that I can just kind of sweep a little bit on at a time. So I only have a couple more powders to go. So I have this Laura Mercier. This is the Candle Glow Sheer Perfecting Powder. This is in shade 2. I bought this a couple months ago and I really feel like I haven't given it a fair shake yet. I've been kind of getting obsessed with some other products like my Cover FX powder, my Bare Minerals one, stuff like that, and neglecting this one a little bit. But this one is supposed to be like a really light illuminating powder. Again, not something I would necessarily set my foundation with, but use this just to kind of finish off my face and give me like a nice little glow. And it is really pretty. It's very light feeling and glowy, but not in like a too glowy of a way. Again, I haven't been using this a whole lot, so I can't give a great review on it, but it is an okay powder as far as I think so far. And then finally, I have the IT Cosmetics, what is this called? Bye Bye Pores. Poreless Finish Airbrush Powder. This is translucent, and it's basically just this white powder. Comes with a little poof, and you can use this to kind of hide your pores. This is not something that I use really to set my whole face, but what I do like doing is taking either the kind of puff it comes with or a brush and picking up some of the powder and dabbing it kind of right here where I have larger pores on my cheeks, or just kind of across my nose, basically just in this kind of region, maybe a little bit on my forehead, and I do think it does a decent job at kind of hiding your pores. I'm not sure how this would look all over the face because while it is supposed to be translucent, I think it would give a bit of a white cast like look to my face. But I do like using it just kind of very sporadically right here. And so this is going to last me a long time. So I think those are all my kind of powders and all that kind of stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I did this one a little bit different than I usually do my makeup collection videos, but I thought it'd be a little bit better than just like staring at the actual compact the whole time. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!